Gwash bishkan chiqe Hanabehta kate katata skikutuk chale kahav Kinaoh chutikik le kagwinakil Hanabehta kwinaki irukinulev sheambi
Welcome to Because People Matter. For those of you who have joined us over the months and years to listen to this program on KUBU, know that that's not the music that we really usually start the show with. And that's because I am so happy to announce the folks that are in the studio with me today. First, just let me say that, you're listening to Because People Matter. We're heard Thursdays at noon on KUBU. That's radio by folks in our local community, courtesy of Access Sacramento. And that's our media training center here in Sacramento County. Check out their website, www.accesssacramento.org, to find out about classes and the schedules for channels 17, 18, and of course KUBU 96.5 in Sacramento. This show is heard Thursdays at noon, and I'm so glad that you're tuning in, particularly today, because as I say, I have some really interesting people in the studio here with me. I have Mariana Moscoso. She is a leader in the No DAPL. That's the No Dakota Access Pipeline organization that was sending out the message loud and clear from Sacramento that we want to be water protectors too, and we don't want pipelines going over major rivers and people's access to water and stuff like that. So really appreciate your work there, Mariana. But also I know that you're going to tell us about a new project that you folks are doing, and we'll talk about that. Also in the studio, I have Tzutu. You're going to tell me how to really pronounce that. He is a rapper from the Mayan highlands, and that's what we heard coming into the program was him rapping, and we might have time for him to do another little bit too. It's so interesting to hear about his experiences and hear from a rapper in a language that is quite different from what we're usually listening to. So let's start right off talking about your work, Mariana, with the No DAPL, and then your new project that you folks are doing.
First of all, I want to say thank you, JoAnn, for having me on your show. And I want to begin by honoring the original peoples of this land, the Miwok and Maidu.
That is so important to start with that, and I really appreciate your doing that.
Thank you. So, as you said, I am a part of No DAPL Sacramento. We were a group of people that started in Sacramento back in November, and it started out simply as a call to action for people to donate supplies. And as we came together to talk about these different issues, we decided that we wanted to become more involved in the movement. Now that sort of the fervor of the No DAPL movement has died down, we were contemplating ways that we can adjust the things that we are passionate for, such as Indigenous rights and the environment, and how we can utilize the base that we've created and continue the movement forward. And so that's what the Decolonization Project is really about. We want to invite people from our community to join in and really start thinking about ways we can decolonize. And for those of you that aren't familiar with the term decolonizing, essentially it's taking things that we've learned through colonization and unlearning them. And so the goal of the project is to take things that we take for granted and really start to examine where they come from and how we can change our own behaviors daily so that we can strive for a better world.
So what kind of things are you thinking of looking into and examining?
So one of the first things that we thought about was that time is really a colonial construct, especially how we have divided the months and the days. So we are beginning the entire project on the winter solstice, which is December 21st, to refocus ourselves with nature's time cycles.
And that you're going to have a program on that day, right? You want to tell us a little bit about that program on the 21st, or you want to talk more about what Decolonization Project is about?
Well, I could talk about it together. On the 21st, we're going to be celebrating the winter solstice. So since it is the launch of the program, we'll be holding a small ceremony, which Tzutu will talk about a little bit more. And we'll be coming together, breaking bread. So we'll have food, and if you want to bring a dish, that's more than welcome. But essentially, we'll be launching the project, and we'll begin by discussing the Indigenous Women of the Americas Defending Mother Earth Treaty, which was signed in 2015. This was a group of Indigenous mothers and grandmothers that came together and signed this treaty, basically making a promise to defend Mother Earth and find ways to acknowledge that the struggle towards a cleaner and more just society. And so part of that is participating or creating nonviolent direct actions every solstice and equinox. And so after we've come together as a dinner, these Idle No More San Francisco Bay Area is going to be coming to Sacramento, and we'll be singing environmental carols in front of the governor's mansion as a nonviolent direct action that day.
Wow, so that happens this evening, the 21st, and we'll be giving you contact information and things like that. So let's go back and circle back a little bit and talk a little bit more about decolonization. So, of course, the colonization, the initial colonization that we're talking about is from a while ago.
Yes. So, essentially, we acknowledge that the moment on October 12, 1492, pretty much set forward a destructive genocidal plan by those that were coming over and taking land and killing off the original peoples of this land. And so by returning to the practices that focus on nature, living in harmony with nature is part of the decolonization goal. That is just one of them. It's also decolonizing our relationships, love, friendships, and a number of other things. Also the way that we eat. So as part of the decolonization project, we're going to have yoga, self-defense. We're going to have a youth program that's called Tradition Through Movement, and we're going to also focus on education. And so rather than pulling from academic texts, we will be pulling from the people's words. So zines we find to be a really effective tool because it uses not only is it a short read, but it also uses visual language, which we think is very important. We'll also be honoring having a new moon ceremony each month. Mm. And we'll also have visiting artists that take basically tradition and use contemporary practices either in art or ceremony and have them visit and speak and have workshops. In fact, Tzutu is here precisely for that reason, and that will be on January 27th.
So we are going to hear more about the music and how important music is in our lives. We all know about that. But it's really interesting to me to hear you talk about all the different aspects that you folks are going to be looking at. This sounds like a program that families would really appreciate, something for everybody kind of thing.
Absolutely, and above all, it's absolutely free. So,
all right. So, are you following a kind of a prescribed something that other people have tried, Or are you making this up in response to your own study and experiences?
So I would say it's a combination of many things. Throughout the years, I've read a number of different texts, reading zines myself, and also talking to people along the way. And for a long time, I've talked to people about the concept of radical love, and I think radical love is centered on the idea of decolonization because it means really giving yourself to people and giving love and really breaking down the barriers because in society we're often very separated and very not touching each other. And so really breaking down these barriers through the experience of like touching and getting to know people at a deeper level. And one way to do that is absolutely food. And so the way we eat is really expresses a form of decolonization and of love, right? So that's a little bit about where it came from. And I'm also really inspired by indigenous-led movements.
So can we just talk a little bit about indigenous? I think a lot of people have an image of Native Americans being indigenous. We know there are many indigenous communities in Mexico. How does that, who is being invited or who is being looked to for leadership in the decolonization project?
So part of the decolonization project is also recognizing that everybody is indigenous somewhere. And so really centering that idea that wherever we are from and honoring those traditions is really a part of the decolonization project. And through that experience, speaking to numerous different people from different indigenous identities, you realize that a lot of there are some basic truths that happen in indigenous cultures, and one of them is really looking at nature and its cycles and our relationship to the cosmos.
Oh boy, really, really interesting. And this kind of healing work that and then the need for community these days, I know, is very much on everybody's mind. So I really appreciate that you're starting it right here in the solstice. And I know we're going to talk about the solstice a little bit in the remaining parts of the program, but I do want to get to the music workshop. So before we turn to that, if you're just joining us, let me tell you that you're listening to Because People Matter. I'm your host, JoAnn Fuller. We're heard Thursdays at noon on KUBU 96.5 FM. So glad that you are listening. Perhaps you're listening on the radio dial or through accesssacramento.org streaming, or maybe you've got that new app that KUBU is. There's a free app that's available, so check that out too. So in terms of the decolonization project, I know that you, Tzutu, are a really important part of that project, and that you're bringing music to us from the Mayan highlands. So tell us about your work in terms of music.
Hello, lovely people from Sacramento. My name is Tzutu. I am a Mayan hip-hop singer from the Mayan highlands. And it's a great honor to be here in the KUBU radio. Thank you for your time. And in this time I'm touring in the U.S. I just visit Virginia and in Boston last 2 weeks, and now we are focusing in Sacramento. And also I'm trying to work with the Decolonization project. In the 27th of January, we're gonna have a Mayan calendar workshop. We're gonna share about what's the meaning behind the Mayan calendar, because in this time we're using we call it a fake calendar or a mechanic calendar. So that's why we're gonna try to share the natural time we using in the Mayan highlands. This time we using like very long time ago, like more than 2,000 years ago. We following this calendar. So and it's the more exact calendar we have. So why we don't use this calendar? Because in this time, because our body breathe air and our mind breathe time. So if the air is bad, it's gonna be bad for our body, and if the time is bad, so it's gonna be bad for our mind. So that's why we, in the 2012 group of Mayan elders, they invite us to make a tribute, musical tribute to the 20 Nahuales in the Mayan calendar, and a group of artists from like producers, musicians, visual artists, and we get together, and also with the guide of Ta Pedro Cruz. He is from the Lake Atitlan. He helped us to create this project. Is a tribute to the 20 Nahuales, and for example, today is 7 Acabal. Is the day of today. So yeah, it's a very long thing to talk about the Mayan calendar, and that's why we're gonna have a workshop, and everybody is welcome to join the workshop, and also we're gonna have like different events here, and if you wanna check it out in Facebook, we are as Mayan Hip Hop or Tzutu. You can find us there, and we're gonna keep sharing our different events here in Sacramento.
So the place to get more information on Facebook is Mayan, Mayan, hip hop, right?
Yes.
And also your name, Tzutu, and your last name is
KAN.
All right. So there's 2 ways to get in touch with the music aspect of this, and of course you'll want to really think about the workshop that's going to be given on the 27th of January. So I heard a performance, and I know you have CDs available too. That was kind of the beginning of the program that we heard some of your music. But I know that a lot of people really respond to drumming, and also the kind of music that's a call and response, where the artist lays out a line of music, and then the audience also joins in, and you were doing quite a bit of that too. So is that part of the musical aspect, is the joining of the audience and the performer?
Yes, like all over America, and also Europe, Asia, and Africa is a boon of different indigenous people reinventing, recreating the form of to transmit knowledge in through music, through arts. So I meet many different artists in different like festivals. We attend with the name of the band in from Guatemala is Balamajpu. Balamajpu started in the 2012. And we start to creating, to work with Mayan elders, and to fusion arts and spirituality. This is the two types of things that we want to share. We recording different sounds, like from different groups like Sotzil, who they like. Doing a lot of research of what's the sound, how was the music in the past of the Mayan people, because we don't have a record of that. So that's why we want to recreate what we have in the Mayan highlands, and also with all the lyrics is coming from the elders, so they give us all the information, what we need to share, what we need to say, and that's the combination we want to create.
that combination, I think I'm very intrigued by the music and the aspect of time. And actually, the songs that you are bringing to us are one for each day of the month, right? In the Mayan calendar. And no kidding. I mean, people all over the world are impressed with the ancient Mayan ruins that we see, the beautiful architecture and arts that were in that part of the world. But also to understand that they were scientists and their calendar really was more accurate. You're not kidding about that.
Yes, that's what we want to share, because in the books, some books they say this, like the Mayan people, they disappeared a long time ago, but that's not true, because we are like millions of Mayan people living in the Mayan highlands with a vibrant culture, very strong culture, and in the grandfathers, they say, the elders, they say, in this time, this knowledge is gonna come back again. It's like grew up again in ourselves. So this is what we want to share in the knowledge behind Mayan calendars. This Mayan calendar. The name is Cholqij. Cholqij is a mathematic of 20 days by 13 energies. So it's a 260-day Mayan calendar. We have different calendars, but this is the sacred one, and this is very related to the human being.
And so let's just get that information one more time about how to get in touch with the music, and then how to get in touch with the Decolonization Project also.
Yes, you can find our music as Balam Ahpu in different page like SoundCloud or Facebook. You can just type Mayan hip hop. It's very easy to find it too.
Okay, great. And then the Decolonization Project.
So for the Decolonization Project, you can email us at thedecolonizationproject@gmail.com. No spaces. And to learn more about the program, you could go to https://tinyurl.com/TDP info. We're also on Facebook as No Dapple Sacramento.
So I did want to just spend a few minutes talking about the solstice. You know, every culture has celebrations of what's happening in the natural world every few months, and this is one of those times when things are changing in space and time in our world, as they do every solstice. But can you just tell us a little bit about what's happening in the natural world in terms of the solstice?
So essentially the winter solstice marks the point when the days start to get longer, and so it's the return of the sun. In the wintertime, we take this time to reflect, which was also a very important aspect of launching the project during this time. It's a new beginning that's getting ready to start, and everything has happened internally. So the plants are going to start to get ready to then come out in the springtime.
So, and we should also be making plans and gathering our energies. It's interesting to me that this time we feel like it's getting colder and darker, and we want to snuggle up with our loved ones and share some stories and that kind of thing. And of course, that's being done all over the world at this time. So it's interesting too that really what's happening in the natural world is days are getting longer minute by minute, and ready for the energy of the spring, and we should be too, right?
Absolutely. And I don't know if Tzutu wants to talk a little bit about the winter solstice as well.
Okay, good.
Yes. Well, in some way we follow a little bit this the winter solstice, because like we celebrating the Navidad, or nativity. So it's Jesus is born in that time. But in the ancient calendars, in different cultures, is the reborn of the sun. So it's the reborn of us too. So that's a way we prepare to reborn again. As Mariana said, everything is preparing to reborn. We begin a new circle too. So it's very interesting because like 5 years ago in the Mayan calendar in the 2012, a big change happened. We hear about the Mayan calendar is gonna end and the world is gonna end too,
Yes.
and a lot of things we hear about that. But in the real like knowledge is the time is we are in the era, la era de la luz. I don't know how to say that.
The era of light.
Yeah, the era of light. We begin a new era. So that's we have 5 years already of this new era. So it's time for us to recreate, to reborn again.
And if I could just jump
Yes.
in real quick, the Decolonization project is exactly about that. It's the idea of unlearning past behaviors and then learning new ones and then creating. So it's this entire process that sort of mimics the natural calendar throughout the year.
Well, I really appreciate all that you are bringing to our community. And looks like there's one more comment coming.
Okay, so yes, my people. So this is Tzutu Balamahpu member, and I want to send a big hug to my friends down there in Guatemala, in Guatemala, as Dr. Nativo and MSCHE, who they are a big member of Balamahpu project. So we're gonna keep